Welcome to the Shreveport Connection with Tommy. This video is on your Monday Night Raw results as well as your what would have been the spoilers for WWE main event and some wrestling news going around the world. And we're going to start off with WWE star Jack Swagger showed up for court in Gulfport, Mississippi on Tuesday wearing a splint on his right hand. Swagger told a SunHerald.com reporter that he had severed a tendon in his thumb. Swagger declined to comment on his DUI charge. Per the advice of his attorney, he's been out of the ring due to the injury, and there's no word yet as to when he will return. Again, there's another report. Jack Swagger was found guilty of the DUI and speeding at his trial in Gulfport Municipal Court on Tuesday. The judge dismissed a possession charge and sentenced him to only 6 months probation, a $500 fine, bad boy, and court costs. His 2-day jail sentence was suspended, and you can read more at SunHerald.com. It's not a big surprise that Swagger didn't get jail time, being over public name, and out of since his first offense. The Sun Herald in Mississippi has reported new details on Jack Swagger's legal troubles after a trial that lasted several hours in Gulfport on Tuesday. When Swagger was stopped by police on February 19th, he told police that he just showered, stopped by a fast food restaurant, and was pretty banged up. After SmackDown tapings that night, the officer testified that Swagger was driving 10 miles per hour faster than the speed limit and that he smelled burnt marijuana in Swagger's rental car. The officer also saw a few pieces of marijuana on Swagger's lap. Swagger did not testify on yesterday, but a video recorded by a patrol camera was shown as the one that goes, bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they record you? Swagger told the officer that night he smoked some marijuana before leaving the Coliseum that night. Swagger told the officer, I know, I effed up. I apologize, man. And then an officer testified that Swagger handed him his credit card when asked for his driver's license. Swagger's speech was slow and petted. His eyes bloodshot and watery, but he was cooperative, nervous, and talkative. A DUI officer said he was just as docile as a gentleman can possibly be. Then the video was shown Swagger taking a field sobriety test in 44-degree weather on the side of the road. The DUI officers described the test as a walk and turn while counting and a one-leg stand. Also, while counting, Swagger stumbled a few times while waving his arms in the air to balance himself and stood on one leg. It was probably by far one of the worst I've ever seen as this DUI officer for under the influence of marijuana. The officer testified, and Swagger was fined $1,000 plus $300 in court costs for the DUI conviction. He was also fined $198 for speeding and must attend an alcohol safety class and a victim impact class. Swagger can get his license back in 90 days if he completes the classes instead of a year. Other news, CM Punk, The Shield, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, AJ Lee, and Dolph Ziggler will appear at the Wizard World Chicago's Comic-Con event on August the 10th and 11th. And you can view the times and dates of their appearances at wizardworld.com. There will be a question and answer session for all of the WWE personnel. Aside from The Shield, as entertaining as that would be, I applaud the idea of keeping them quiet for now and saying that the type of thing for a WWE appearance or a DVD release. As previously noted, Punk will be appearing at the Wizard World event in New York. TMZ is reporting the following on CM Punk. This news, he has obtained a restraining order against his estranged mother, claiming she constantly hits him up for money and then threatens to kill herself if he doesn't come through. And the money is roughly, I think I read it was $100,000 for each time. It's almost like a weekly thing. But as TMZ has learned, and Punk's real name, Philip Brooks, claims in legal documents filed in Illinois that he's tried to break off his relationship with his mother for more than a year due to the repeated financial demands and years of abusive, harassing, and threatening behavior. In the document, Punk states that he's made an effort to help his mom, who he claims suffers from bipolar disorder, giving her more than $100,000. But Punk says her abusive, threatening behavior escalated when he cut her off. That's when Punk's mom allegedly unleashed a torrent of nasty emails telling the wrestler, "You don't give a crap about us. You just care about your money, hungry, fame hungry, money friends. You would sell us for a nickel." Punk also says his mother threatened to release potentially embarrassing info about her son's past. Punk suggests the information has to do with arrest when he was in high school. I wonder if he was smoking and drinking in high school. That's the falsified info on that. Hopefully it is not. And also in the documents, Punk stated his mother has threatened to commit suicide on at least 4 different occasions in 2012. Punk says, "I wish for the harassment to stop, and I'm requesting the assistance of the court in this regard." The judge in this case granted a temporary restraining order back on June the 10th, but the wrestler is due back in court today, where he will likely try to extend the protection order for several years. And from what I've heard, he was granted the extension and also the continuing restraining order. And Rashad attended the WWE Raw show in North Charleston, South Carolina from Monday and sent the results from the Superstars tapings. 2 matches. Miz defeated Wade Barrett. Miz won with a figure 4. Kids cared about the match. Match number 2, Antonio Cesaro defeated Zack Ryder. Cesaro won with a bad gimmick, or the neutralizer. And Raw on the USA Network aired live from North Charleston, South Carolina at the Civic Center. Recap videos started to focus on Mark Henry's retirement tease and the attack on John Cena. Michael Cole introduced the show and said Raw was sold out. He was joined on commentary by Jerry the King Lawler and JBL. Daniel Bryan makes his entrance, and the announcers noted that Daniel Bryan beat Randy Orton by count on SmackDown. Bryan said that before they start his match, there are people who have accused him of having a complex. He said some people say that he is a walking example of little man syndrome. He said he's listened to the people, act surprised that he's a wrestler, or joke that he was an extra on The Hobbit. Bryan said people have called him the Wink Link, whether he was teaming with Kane or way back on NXT. He said those people are morons, and he said his count out win over Orton on SmackDown wasn't good enough. He said he won't be satisfied with beating Orton unless he pins him or makes him tap out in the middle of the ring. Bryan asked if he would do that tonight, then allowed Borgasm with a yes chant started out, and then we get Orton's entrance music interrupting. Orton said and when he came out to tell Bryan straight to his face to shut up and fight, they traded shots to start the match. So we get Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton. They continued to trade shots and battled to ringside, where they brawled until they were counted out. Several referees separated them. These guys just don't like each other, JBL said. Daniel Bryan fought Randy Orton in a 1-minute and 15-second count-out. Double count-out. One can only hope that this is going to lead to another match later in the show. The intensity was great and should leave viewers wanting more. Backstage, Daniel Bryan told Vicky Guerrero and Brad Maddox he wants a match with Randy Orton. A match with Randy Orton, a match with Maddox. Vicky told him his match is with Orton. Bryan left and Vicky laughed at Maddox, who appeared terrified over the thought of facing Bryan. Vince McMahon entered the picture and he put his arm around Vicky. Vince said some people think Bryan isn't worthy of being a WWE superstar due to his diminutive size and psychological complexities. Some people think that he's downright embarrassment, and Vince said, Vicky asked him what he thinks, and Vicky said he would let her figure that out herself. A good setup for the Daniel Bryan versus Orton match for the next pay-per-view, which tells me that they plan on making this more than just another match with a cheap finish. Bryan could get his win over, perhaps. Orton gets a full-fledged heel. I also like the Vince hook at the end. It's another hook for the match. The funny thing is that it plays on the paranoia of Bryan's fans that have about his standing within the company. I think there was a time when most of us were wondering how he would fare in WWE due to his size. But at this point, it's well established that he's a star. Number 2, Shamus and Christian versus Damien Sandow and Cody Rhodes. Coleslaw announced that Shamus would face Sandow on a double street fight on SmackDown. Late in the match, Cody tagged into the match and shoved Sandow aside. Cody then walked into a brogue kick and on Rhodes from Sheamus, who scored the pinfall. Christian and Sheamus won the match in 5 minutes 30 seconds. He announced hyped Alberto Del Rio versus Y2J in another rematch from SmackDown. A good high-energy tag match that the live crowd enjoyed. Rhodes pushing a stumbling Sandow out of the way and then yelling, "Get out of the way!" was an unexpected development. So we get the breakup of their tag team. Meanwhile, SmackDown has the Raw rebound, and apparently Raw is the SmackDown rematch. Backstage, CM Punk was texting on his phone when Vicky Guerrero interrupted and approached him. Punk asked if Paul Heyman or Brock Lesnar were in the building. She said she hadn't seen Heyman and didn't know if Lesnar would be there. Vicky told Punk he was in a match. She did the "excuse me" bit. When he didn't reply, "Excuse me," Punk yelled back. He told her to let him know if Heyman or Lesnar show up. Match number 3, Caitlyn with Layla versus Oksana. Coleslaw spoke about how supportive Layla has been to Caitlyn lately. Lawler asked if he remembered how manipulative Layla was when she teamed with Michelle McCool. Caitlyn's music played and AJ Lee walked out wearing a wig and a muscle suit to mock Caitlyn. Oksana took advantage momentarily, but Caitlyn came right back with a spear for the win. Caitlyn defeated Oksana in 1 minute and 20 seconds. After the match, AJ introduced herself as Caitlyn and spoke about her secret admirer, Biggie Lacey, coming out and gave her flowers and told her she is the one. AJ said that she always wanted someone with a voice as deep as hers. Caitlyn wanted to go after her, but Layla held her back. They announced a setup of the Wyatt family video. Coleslaw hype footage from Mark Henry attacking John Cena from last week as they go to commercial. The crowd was silent for everything other than the voice comment and a jab about Caitlyn having a big Adam's apple. Caitlyn looks bad for getting so worked up by a bad spoof. Then again, she also looks bad because she needs Layla around to keep her from crying and her flipping out. Highlight there was John Cena and Mark Henry angle from last week and included the footage of Henry early in his career and his weightlifting career. Coleslaw said both men were in the building for Raw as Y2J makes his entrance for his match against Alberto Del Rio. As they go to commercial, Don't Try This at Home video aired, just like my impersonation of Ricardo Rodriguez, who walks on the stage and introduces Alberto Del Rio and mocked the fans with a southern accent. Coleslaw said Dolph Ziggler has received medical clearance and will face Alberto Del Rio in a Money in the Bank for the World Heavyweight title. So we get match number 4, World Heavyweight Champion Alberto Del Rio with Ricardo versus Y2J, the non-title match. And Coleslaw recalled Ziggler costing Jericho the match that he and Del Rio had on SmackDown and noted that Jericho performed a codebreaker on Ziggler. Jericho was on offense until he missed a springboard over the second rope, which was mostly the Lion Salt. Del Rio picked him up and threw him into the barricade, heading into the break. After the commercial, Jericho caught Del Rio with a kick to the back of the head and then covered him for a 2 count. Del Rio came back with a kick of his own and then knocked Jericho off the apron and down to the floor. Jericho just beat the 10 count back in. Later, Del Rio took Jericho to the corner and sat him on top rope. Jericho fought out and performed a high cross body for a good near fall at 11 minutes 5 seconds. Jericho performed a suplex into a bridge for another 2 count. Del Rio came back briefly, but Jericho dropped him in the corner, causing Del Rio to crash through the ropes and into the post. Jericho went for the code breaker, but Del Rio caught him. Jericho flipped over the top of Del Rio and rolled him into the position of the wall to Jericho. But Del Rio avoided that and came back with a kick to the head for another 2 count. And Del Rio went for the cross arm breaker, but Jericho dodged that and performed a running bulldog. Jericho went for the Lion Salt again, but Del Rio put his knees up and caught Jericho in the cross arm breaker. Jericho fought tapping out and eventually made it to the ropes and pushed off the ropes, but Del Rio was in the walls of Jericho. Ricardo entered the ring and struck Jericho with the bucket. After the match, Ziggler hit the ring and performed a zigzag on Del Rio. Dolph and Jericho glared at one another Jericho started to walk away, but Ziggler caught him with a zigzag 2. And Chris Jericho won by disqualification in 14 minutes, 15 seconds. A very entertaining match. I don't even hate the stupid bucket now that Del Rio and Ricardo are healed, since it can be used as a weapon, whereas it just seems ridiculous, out of place when they are baby faces. WWE is advertising Del Rio versus Ziggler, but it sure like there's a chance that they will go with a triple threat, including Jericho at the Money in the Bank. Backstage, Triple H interrupted Vicky Guerrero and Brad Maddox, and Triple H said he heard a nasty rumor that they were thinking about canceling Daniel Bryan's match. Vicky cited the criticisms that Vince gave earlier without attributing them to him. Hunter said it doesn't matter what anyone backstage thinks. It's what the WWE Universe wants, and they want to see the match. Hunter said that he would like Vicky to over-deliver by giving the WWE viewers the choice on the type of the match that they're going to have. Vicky said that was a wonderful idea. Hunter said he told them that they should listen to him and everything will be okay. He complimented Maddox's shirt, which was very, very funny, and then asked him if it comes in men's sizes too. That's what was so funny. And Coleslaw hyped the world premiere of the WWE 2K14 with a rock on it. The latest 1-800 fella commercial aired, and Sheamus kicked a tree to get an old lady's cat down. He had to run away from the horny woman at the end. My best guess on the 1-800 fellow spot last week was it was some type of series to promote SummerSlam. My new guess is that it's some type of ad campaign to make viewers see Sheamus as a comedy tool. Okay, so that's probably not what they have in mind. Are they trying to do the Inspector Clouseau? Inspector Gadget? Let's go with the famous the one with Mr. Watson. But I suspect that will be the end result. Jerry Lawler stood in the ring with Vicky Guerrero and Brad Maddox, the Pig, and the Slot. Okay, for the video game cover release. Lawler said there will be a contest that allows WWE fans to create a cover for the game. He said that the winning submission will have the honor of having their cover put on the flip side of every game. Somebody said that on their comments, design a cover that goes on the back. Why don't they just ask viewers to send in backside artwork? Vicky did the excuse me routine and screeched about something that the live crowd booed over. She eventually showed off her cover, which featured none other than Vince McMahon, Triple H, and Stephanie McMahon. Maddox spoke and everyone got quiet. He showed off his own cover of his own image between the images of CM Punk and John Cena. Lawler interrupted and introduced the real cover, a tapestry draped above the ring, and featured The Rock going Lemmy from Motorhead on a mic. Coleslaw ran down a bunch of stats about Rock's Hollywood success. The shot aired of Ryback walking backstage as they go to commercial. Match number 5, Ryback versus Great Khali, another squash match with Natalya and Hornswoggle in Khali's corner. Khali won the early test of strength by backing Ryback into the corner and then chopping and kicking him. Did you think he was going to hit an effing moonsault? Ryback came back with punches of his own and ran into Khali's big boot and a clothesline. Khali set up for the plunge, but Ryback avoided it and hoisted him up, marched around, and performed shell shock for the win in 2 minutes 22nd match. Good news! Ryback still thinks he rules, even though he lost the 3 Stages of Hell match. I was surprised to see Khali get so much offense early on, but the only thing people will remember is the power display at the end. Coleslaw hyped John Cena's first appearance since being blindsided by Mark Henry for After the Break. A Total Divas ad aired for the July 28th premiere on the E! Network. A graphic boasted after the commercial break about SmackDown was nearly 10 times more socially active than 2020 on ABC. That's a really surprising stat to anyone who thought their parents and grandparents stayed in on Friday night to watch 2020 and tweet about it. John Cena makes his entrance and spoke about the lively bunch we have here tonight. He spoke about the WWE Championship and said whether you held it for 8 years like Bruno Sammartino or a single night like Rey Mysterio. It puts you in an elite category because you've earned the respect of their peers. Cena said shortcuts do not equal respect. He said men have tried to buy it and steal it. He said he's seen people with his own eyes who cracked under pressure while trying to chase the title. Cena said even Vince McMahon himself felt he needed to be the WWE champion to justify his existence to the fans. And last week we saw how low a man will sink to chase this. Cena said last week Mark Henry disgraced his family. He said Henry cheated the WWE Universe and felt his speech was an utter disaster to guys who stood in the ring and announced that they could never do this again. Then he mentioned Edge, Shawn Michaels, and Ric Flair and said Henry made a mockery of them all last week. Then he then said he understands why. He said Henry has been in WWE for 17 years and he may be the world's strongest man, but realizes his time is running out and he won't have a legacy in WWE unless he holds the WWE Championship. Cena said that that's where he comes in, because if Henry wants to hold the title, he has to go through him. Allow me to introduce myself. John Cena, the WWE Champion, he said. Cena said the best part of the speech was when Henry handed him the belt and said it's something that has to be earned. He said everything else was a load of crap, and now the only thing he earned is the right to have his teeth knocked down his throat. Cena said Henry forgot to check his calendar, and they are in the middle of the whoop-ass season. He said that in 3 weeks, Henry is going to find out what the world already knows. Our time is now, and the champ is here. A good, straightforward, to the point from Cena. No clowning around. He's not showing fear from Henry, but I like the way he's established the value of the title while labeling Henry's actions disgraceful. A Rob Van Dam video aired. The live crowd was pretty mild for the video when they were shown after it played. Brothers Clay, Tensai, Cameron, Naomi, and Scotty Campbell made their entrance for a #1 contenders match for the tag titles. Cole Slaw said Campbell won the right to make an entrance as part of the Hurricane Sandy Relief fundraiser. Cole Slaw said Campbell was a former member of the Tennessee House of Representatives as they go to commercial break. So we get match number 46 is Brodus Clay and Sweet Tea with Cameron and Naomi versus Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal versus the Uso Brothers in a triple threat match to become the #1 contenders to the WWE Tag Team Championship. And the Usos received a full entrance. 3MP, not so much. Scotty Campbell disappeared from ringside. The Usos made a blind tag, and one of them ended up hitting a top rope splash on T for the win. And I predicted the winner of the match before they even started the match. That's my favorite to win, because it made so much sense, and they earned the shot. After the match, the Shields music played, and they walked on into the lower bowl of the arena and glared at the ring as they got a commercial. So the Usos defeated Brodus Clay and Sweet Tea and Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal in a triple threat to become the #1 contenders to the WWE Tag titles. Well, the Usos were excited about their win. No one else seemed to be, but they are rolling around in the ring like they just won Motherboy. The call video with Halle Berry, David Otunga, and Kane from way back when was replayed. Paul Heyman was shown walking backstage as they go to commercial. Hey, whatever happened to David O? Never mind. Paul Heyman walked to the ring, and he admitted he ignored CM Punk's calls, texts, and emails. Paul Heyman would never, anyway, Heyman said they live so much of their lives in public, and he figured the only way to do this was to face-to-face in front of the fans. Heyman called for Punk to come out and get answers as he is looking for. Punk came out to a big pop. You want to do this in public? Punk said. You want to air dirty laundry in public for their entertainment? Punk said he would recap. He should recap why he has questions, starting with why, despite Heyman's lousy reputation in the business as a human being, he is still a Paul Heyman guy. Punk noted that he created a little bit of buzz for himself in 2005. He recalled that goof John Laurinaitis being in charge of WWE talent relations, while Heyman was in charge of WWE developmental. Punk said he was set up to fail. He said Punk received weekly notes from people who said Punk was no good and wasn't what WWE was looking for. Punk then said no matter what or no matter how many times Haman was told to fire Punk, Haman refused to pull the trigger and fire him. He saw something in me and he had my back, as Punk said. He said he was Paul Heyman's first draft pick when they reformed ECW. Punk said he doesn't mean to bore anyone with their dirty laundry. Punk turned back to Heyman and told him to tell Brock Lesnar that he's coming for him. I don't care that he's bigger than me. I don't care that he's stronger than me because he's not better than me. Punk said, you know what I'm going to say next. I'm the better wrestler on the planet, and you know it better than anybody, and I'm going to say it straight to your face. Because Brock doesn't have the balls to be here today, Punk said that there's no more relentless or dangerous than he is, and he will do whatever it takes to bring Heyman's best incarnate down. Punk asked Heyman whether Lesnar attacked him on his own or whether Heyman put him up to it. Punk told Heyman to tell the truth for the first time in his life. Punk said he wants the truth to be told. Heyman to make him to the exception of the rule by telling the truth. Punk got worked up and told Heyman to swear on his children and tell the truth for the first time in his life. Heyman hung his head and then he looked to the sky to tell the truth. And to tell the truth, chant started amongst the fans. I never wanted it to be this way between us. Heyman said, and since you demand the truth, and because you would be able to see through me, and because of my best friend, and until something happens, you are my best friend, you deserve the truth, and will tell you the truth straight to your face. On my children, I did not know that Brock Lesnar would be here last week. The fans booed, and the very same response that I used to get from Vince McMahon and Stephanie McMahon and John Laurinaitis. He did. Heyman said at the moment, Punk said Lesnar needs Heyman's help. He picked a fight. You didn't pick a fight with me. You picked a fight with Brock Lesnar, he said. Heyman said the professional jealousy between Punk and Lesnar ran deep for a long time. Heyman said that the reason he never pitched the idea of a Lesnar and Punk, well, my daughter wants to join in. But you have to be quiet while I do the video. You never pitched the idea of a Lesnar and Punk tag team or why they were never seen in the ring at the same time. I kept the two of you apart, he said. And why? Because of the professional jealousy between you. Heyman said all the things Punk said about him are true, and he has never denied that. Heyman said he is not stupid, but he will walk down. Lost the spot. He will walk down the aisle with Punk one day when he's challenging for the WWE Champion and main eventing WrestleMania. Heyman said that that's his dream. Heyman once again said he loves Punk and said he wouldn't kill his dream because Punk wants some space. Heyman said he would never represent anyone against Punk, including Lesnar. Heyman once again recalled not listening when people told him to get rid of Punk. Heyman said now the people are telling Punk to get rid of him. He said his fate is in Punk's hands now, and now it's Punk's move. Punk and Heyman looked at one another in the eye. Heyman shook his head and turned away. Lawler babbled about Heyman lying and questioned him, saying that he loves Punk. JBL said he thought Heyman was about to go to sleep courtesy of Punk. I'm sorry, I doubted you, Punk told Heyman before giving him a big hug. And the fans booed. Punk's music played, and the embracing continued. Primetime players made their entrance. Colesall said Punk would face Darren Young after the break as they go to commercial. A very strong segment. Live crowd wasn't into the early background portion of the story, but it felt very necessary considering the story they were telling. I like that it's not just open and shut, and they were stretching this out. The hug was booed, but it leaves viewers anxiously hoping that Punk will see through Heyman and get his hands on him. There should be a big moment when Punk finally executes the GTS on Heyman. Match number 7, Punk versus Darren Young with Titus O'Neil. The crowd was quiet early on, and Young performed an impressive great throw, as the announcers called it. Punk started to do the comeback, but he missed a splash in the corner. At 5 minutes 10 seconds, then Punk came back with a springboard clothesline for a 2 count. He came up limping a bit, and Colson reminded viewers of the knee injury he suffered at WrestleMania. Punk went for the GTS, but Young avoided it and dropped Punk onto his knees for a good 2 count. Punk came back moments later with a kick and then locked in an Anaconda Vice for the win. And the match only took 16 minutes 15 seconds. After the match, Titus entered the ring, and the players got the better of Punk. And Curtis Axel's music played, and he came out to help out Punk. Axel and Punk cleared the players from the ring. Heyman entered the ring and said that they would talk about it. Heyman told Punk that there was no other way, then told Axel that he did the right thing. A cool twist that I didn't see coming. The live crowd seems a little thrown by everything, but I hope creative doesn't opt to dumb this down because it's very entertaining and it's not like it's designed to get an immediate reaction. I was surprised to see Young get so much off it before Punk came back and went over strong at the end. Backstage, Piggy Guerrero left a message with Maddox saying that she wanted her coffee. Stephanie entered the room and she noticed that Vicky hasn't announced the participants for the Money in the Bank ladder match. Vicky said it's been a crazy night, and Steph said we'll do it. Lawler announced the voting options for Orton versus Daniel Bryan match as the Lumberjack match, Street Fight, and Falls Count Anywhere. As they go to commercials, the Bella Twins walked to ringside and handed out copies of the WWE magazine. Stephanie McMahon was introduced as she walked onto the stage. She hyped the Money in the Bank ladder match and what was at stake. Steph said that since Vicky was too busy, she would introduce the ladder match participants. CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Sheamus, Randy Orton, Christian, Kane, and Rob Van Dam. Of course, everybody knew that Rob Van Dam was going to be in it because of the pay-per-view announcement. Steph spoke as if there's only one Money in the Bank match. We'll see if that changes. Either way, that's really a loaded lineup for one match. Backstage, Ryback complained to Vicky and Maddox about not being in the Money in the Bank match. And Jericho showed up, and they did the same. They ended up going face to face. Maddox tried to intervene and then chickened out. Vicky yelled, "Excuse me" again. Come on, Caitlin, do the excuse me. You want to be in the video? Excuse me.
Excuse me.
There you go. Okay, you got your 5 seconds of fame again. Okay. Okay, so she booked them in a singles match against one another at the Money in the Bank. A shot aired of Mark Henry walking backstage. Backstage, CM Punk told Heyman that he doesn't need his help and questioned how he could be any clearer. Heyman asked if 2 guys jumped him on the street. That would it be business if Punk got involved? Punk said he doesn't need Axel to get involved. Heyman announced that he cleared it with Vicky so that next week it would be the Primetime Players versus Punk and Axel. Punk was a happy, but he said he would take the match. I went back and watched the Stephanie's wording for the Money in the Bank match, even though there was no mention of a second Money in the Bank match. She did refer to the one she announced as the WWE Championship Money in the Bank match. In other words, there may still be a World Heavyweight Championship Money in the Bank match. Announcers plugged the poll again. Mark Henry headed to the ring, smiled, and boasted that he fooled everyone. Henry said he saw the fans cry, and because of my spectacular performance, I've been nominated for an Academy Award. He said he claimed famous directors have reached out to him. He committed an effing sin by mentioning Tyler Perry in the same breath as Quentin Tarantino and Steven Spielberg in the same sentence. Henry said that he has people upset because he used them. He said he won't apologize to any of them. He said people told him he was a big kid and shouldn't hurt the little children. Please, he said. He recalled being told to work hard and win the Olympic gold for the United States. Please, he said. And he said the fans are puppets who does what he asked them to do. He mentioned saying that he was coming home last week. I'm coming home all right, Henry said. I know I look good. This ain't no men's warehouse. I'm coming home, WWE champion. A decent follow-up from last week, but nothing particularly memorable. He got a little flustered by the live crowd giving him the tired what chant. The announcer spoke at ringside about Henry's promo. The newest White family video aired again. They say we're coming, but no, we've been here all along, Bray Wyatt said. Follow the brothers. Lawler hyped the fan vote again. Lawler read the results of the vote. 50% voted for a street fight, 28% voted Paul Count Anywhere, 22% voted lumberjack match. And your main event, Randy Orton vs. Daniel Bryan, a street fight. Was your choice? Bryan went for a suicide dive. At 1 minute 35 seconds in, Orton held up a chair, but Bryan ran heading into the break. This is what they were getting fined for, as you'll hear on SmackDown portion of it. The brawl continued with a chair and a table lying in the ring. Bryan went on offensive flurry, but was cut off when he charged Orton, who once again caught him with a chair. As it goes past the 3-hour mark, Bryan ended up going on to offense and tried to knock Orton off the apron and threw a table to ringside. Orton held onto the top rope. Bryan slid between Orton's legs to the floor and then reached up and powerbombed Orton through the table. Later, Orton caught Bryan with a big suplex through another table that was set up in the corner of the ring. Bryan held up his shoulder and Orton held his elbow for the move. Later, Orton set up Bryan on the top rope, set up for the superplex. Bryan threw punches to Orton's side and eventually knocked him off the rope. Bryan followed up with an apparent Hurricane Run attempt, but Orton caught him and powerbombed him on the way down for a 2 count. Bryan applied the orgasm lock. Orton reached over and grabbed the kendo stick, which was left in the ring from earlier spot, and used it as a weapon to break the hold. Orton continued to slam the stick onto Bryan until he rolled under the bottom rope. Orton performed a hanging DDT on Bryan. Orton struck the viper pose and went for the RKO, but Bryan countered with a backslide for a 2 count. Bryan grabbed the kendo stick and struck Orton with it a few times. Bryan applied the orgasm lock again. Orton grabbed the kendo stick again, but this time Bryan grabbed it from him and used it to reach back on Orton's face with it. Orton tapped out, giving Bryan the win. Daniel Bryan won in 15 minutes and 40 seconds. After the match, Bryan celebrated and led the crowd into orgasm chants. So yes, yes. Orton got back to his feet and approached Bryan. A small "you tapped out" chant started. Orton got in his face with Bryan and shook his hands. The announcers praised him for being a class act. Once Orton left the ring, Bryan went back to celebrating with the orgasm chant. So yes, yes. A very good brawl with a definitive finish that was set up nicely by the opening segment. This live crowd liked Bryan, and we've also seen the live crowd that enjoyed his act a lot more. It didn't even feel like a huge Raw moment when Bryan won. Part of the blame goes to the way it was set up. They had the big angle at the beginning of the show, but then it was forgotten about until the end of the night, aside from the usual plugs from the announcers. WWE has to do more than that with their main event matches. They have more than enough time to work in some backstage segments to keep these main events fresh and in the minds of the viewers. Overall, it was a pretty decent show. The live crowd appeared to be a bit burned out on the same boring, long talking segments, which probably worked more for the TV audience. It felt somewhat newsworthy with the Money in the Bank match announcement. I will have more to say in the SmackDown video following the upload for this one. And after Raw went off the air, John Cena defeated Ryback in a tables match. And that concludes the Raw portion of the results. Thank you and peace out.